who's been threatening the president, who has been making theater out of assassinating the president, who's Johnny Depp talking about when was the last time an actor assassinated a president. It's Shakespeare in the Park, where they did Julius Caesar, and Julius Caesar, who was obviously assassinated, is dressed up like Donald Trump. Kathy Griffin, obviously, with the head of Donald Trump, and then she's the terrible victim because it ruined her career. Snoop Dogg shooting Donald Trump. And then, all the level of rhetoric. Talk about the level of rhetoric, not from a couple of people in a crowd, but from the mainstream of the Democrat commentariat. Trump committed treason. Trump is working with the Russians. John Brennan, everyone on CNN. Trump is Hitler. How many times have you heard Donald Trump compared to Hitler? I mean, you know who never gets called a fascist dictator? A fascist dictator. You know who never got called a fascist dictator? Hitler. You know why? Because those people, you'd disappear if you said it. The very fact that you can call Donald Trump those names and nothing happens to you, if anything, your ratings go up and you're called on to be on MSNBC, the fact that you can do that proves that the words coming out of your mouth aren't true. And who does all that? Why is that not endangering the president? Why is that not causing violence? Well, it does cause violence. We know it. I mean, why was there so little coverage of the Antifa terrorist attack on the Immigration Detention Center in Washington state? That guy was inspired by the Squad, things the Squad said, but that's nothing but when that clown sent out fake bombs to all the left-wing news people. That, of course, was big news. And, listen, it's all big news. We don't want violent people. We don't want terrorists on any side. But when you only report one side, again, we know it. We know it. And it's all so much theater. The other day, Al Green put this resolution forward. Here he is. I'm so in love with you. Sorry, it was the untalented Al Green from Texas. He's been talking impeachment, and all the people on TV, impeachment. Every Democrat, all the Squad is big on impeachment. Al Green actually put forward an impeachment resolution. It died, and it died with Democrats voting 137 to 95 against. So they're all talk. It's all a show, and the show is covered by the people who are in show business, namely the news media, and it spreads the stupid. So what's beneath the stupid? This is the thing I just want to get to, because the funny thing is they keep saying that this is all a distraction. You keep hearing Democrats say it's all a distraction. But Donald Trump has actually gotten closer to the nub of the issue, to what is actually happening in this country. The left keeps saying he's distracting us, but as always, they accuse us of doing what they're doing. Donald Trump keeps saying these people hate America. These people hate America. And then everybody says, well, hasn't Donald Trump said bad things about America? And no, he hasn't. Donald Trump has said bad things are going on in America. He hasn't said America is running concentration camps. He hasn't accused. I mean, the show that went on that I was joking about in the open when Elijah Cummings was yelling at the DHS chief, the things that we've seen them say to Department of Homeland Security guys trying to, ICE people trying to enforce the border laws, that's shameful. It is shameful for Congress, who is responsible for passing the laws, to come down on the people who enforce the laws. I've said this before, I'm saying it again, the debate we are in the midst of is, will the founding stand? Are we friends of the founding or are we not? Is it unpatriotic to wave the flag? Is it racist to wave the flag? Or is it supporting the freest country ever made? Is our history about racism, the racism that has existed everywhere in the past? Or is it about the fact that we, in a unique way, have climbed out of racism and been a beacon to the world? All these people around the world who are saying we're a multicultural country, when they're not, are saying it because they want to be like us. So shouldn't we be thanking the people who brought us here, the white people who brought us here, the white males who brought us here? Can't we be thankful to them while including new people into the mix because of the ideas that they put forward? Are we going to be grateful for this country, or are we going to hate it and break it and make some utopia that no one has ever seen? Is speech going to be free, or are we going to make a better world by shutting people down? Is the government going to start to be dialed back? Listen, there's no debate between no government and too much government. There's a debate between too much government and limited government, defined powers. I'm increasingly beginning to think, people said last election was the biggest election of your lifetime. They always say that every time. I think only one party may survive this next election, or at least survive as it stands. You know, I'm watching this coverage of the moon, right? We've got the 50-year anniversary of the landing on the moon, and the New York Times, the Washington Post, story after story about, oh, the Soviets had female astronauts, but for us it was, that's garbage. We've had far more female astronauts in the years since. The Soviets did believe, as the left believes now, in erasing gender differences. Women were supposed to be just the same as men in the Soviet Union. That made everyone a lot happier. But the New York Times is selling this idea that somehow the Soviet Union, this slave state, this miserable, unworkable, dysfunctional slave state, was somehow better than us. But instead of saying, hey, you know, NASA's not to blame that the world was a little more racist then. If our culture in the 50s, our successful culture that went to the moon, right, 50 years ago, if that was a white male culture, then is the dysfunctional culture we find in Africa, is that a black culture? Because I don't believe either one of those things. I believe these are cultures created by ideas. And sure, ideas come down through history, and maybe one group of people gets them and they're lucky, but the world is about ideas. And what we had is a successful idea, and to abandon that idea because the people's faces were white is racism. That's the debate we're having. And all this stupid is meant to draw your eyes away from that debate for one simple reason. Most of the people, I think, are on the side of the founding. Donald Trump's personality, a distraction. This crisis, that crisis, this thing going on, all of it, a distraction from what is coming down the pike in 2020 is a decision between, are we going to be proud of this country and move forward into a new age with the guidance of our traditions and our ideas, or are we going to abandon this and build out of our own virtue a utopia that has never existed on Earth and, just spoiler alert, never will?